All right. Welcome to the Who You Know Job Networking Show, where what you know is important,
but who you don't know
makes all the difference in your job search. Today, we are super pumped and excited. We have Benton Crane from...
The Benton Crane
from Harmon Brothers.
Hi, guys. Happy to be here.
We're excited about this interview. So I want to know all about it. Guys, if you're not sure or familiar with Harmon Brothers, you need to go check them out because they are the ones who created these super clever, funny, catchy commercials that you see, like Squatty Potty. If you've ever seen
It'll change your life.
Oh my gosh, it's the poop. What do you call them?
It's
unicorn.
It's the unicorn that poops rainbow ice cream.
The rainbow ice cream. Guys, these commercials are super funny, and also the purple pillow.
Yep, purple mattress.
Yep. The mattress.
Yeah, Poo-Pourri, Chatbooks, Fiberfix, and several others. Camp Chef.
Yeah, and if you've seen any of these commercials, these video commercials are so hilarious. They will make you laugh. They will keep you engaged. Like, they're long. For a commercial?
For a spot, it's a long commercial, but you will watch the whole thing and you will watch it over.
So it was funny in our early days. We'd get a test version of our ad done, and then we'd go show it to people, and people were always like, this is too long. You need to cut this thing down. It needs to be 30 seconds. And we'd be like, no, it's going to take a little bit longer to communicate the message that we need to communicate.
Yeah.
So as long as we can keep you entertained and engaged, then we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
So what I love about it is I can tell now when I'm watching one of your commercials, right? I can tell. We were at in the video marketing world just yesterday, checking everything out. We were watching a commercial from ClickFunnels.
Yep.
And it was hilarious. We were cracking up. Mark and I, we were just sitting there. We were engaged. It was like a 4-minute. How long is that commercial? Do you know?
I can't remember. It's probably 4.5 minutes.
4.5 minutes long. It's a long commercial. For a commercial, that's long, right?
Yep.
But we were cracking up the whole time. And at the end of it, we were like, we got to go talk to the ClickFunnels guys. But what I thought was interesting is I knew it. I could feel it. I was like, Harmon Brothers.
The vibe was Harmon Brothers.
You could
like,
tell
Harmon
stylistically it was ours.
I knew you guys did it.
We always use the term rhythm. So it turns out that you can have a short ad. It can be 15 seconds, 30 seconds long. And if it doesn't have rhythm, it's going to feel like it's forever long. It's going to drag, and you're going to be like, when is this going to end? But if you have rhythm, and what I mean by rhythm is it keeps you engaged, it keeps you entertained, then people forget about time. It doesn't matter if it's 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. As long as you have that rhythm there, people stay engaged and they enjoy it.
So why humor? Why that? Why is that? I mean, that's what keeps people engaged, obviously.
So humor's not a necessity.
Okay.
But it sure is a phenomenal tool because it happens to be the most shareable thing on the internet, right? Like, you can occasionally get some shareability out of, like, controversy.
Or that warm, fuzzy moment.
Yeah, like sentiment can be shareable, but nothing is as shareable as humor, right? Because at the end of the day, when we're sharing something on our social feeds, we don't want to be a weight on our network, right? Like, if you put out something controversial, then you kind of know that, like, some people are going to appreciate this, but there's also going to be a lot of people who are kind of dragged down by it.
Right.
And so people don't want to be that weight. And humor happens to be the one thing that, like, it's just universally great. You're not dragging anyone down.
It resonates with everybody.
Yep. You're providing value to your network.
But maybe, I'm curious, because of the Squatty Potty, being that in the commercial, you're feeding children.
2 of those are my kids.
Those are your kids?
That's great.
Oh, my gosh. You're feeding them unicorn poop.
Yep.
Ice cream.
Yep, rainbow ice cream.
Rainbow ice cream.
Right out of a unicorn's butt.
Did you get any negative press on that? Was there anybody that was like, this is disgusting, or why would, or did everybody just laugh and know it was just hilarious?
Almost none. Actually, let me take that back. My in-laws hated it. But outside of that, I really can't remember any hate towards it. Like, my in-laws are just kind of like shaking their heads and going like,
this is ridiculous.
Did my daughter really marry this guy?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Is this the guy that we call our son?
At the end of the commercial, he hands the kids toilet paper to wipe
Yeah, that joke actually wasn't written into the original script. We were on set. They had just filmed the scene with the kids licking the ice cream.
Oh,
and
my
one of the
God.
writers, Dave Vance, it just popped into his head on the set right there, and he was just like, guys, somebody get me some toilet paper. and so that got put in right at the very last second, and it ended up being one of the best jokes in the whole thing.
It was so hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was so much credibility in that commercial too. Like, I know they go through, Amazon, Shark Tank.
Yep.
Like, I'm gonna tell you, I bought a Squatty Potty.
Good. Do you enjoy it?
As,
I like it.
as
Good.
did I.
It works. Oh, you got one too?
As soon as I saw the commercial.
You love it.
It's a great product. I have one in every bathroom in my house. So here's the thing. They came to us, and they had already sold like $4 million worth of Squatty Potties. They had some decent success, and they had a good customer base, but all of their customers were like 50-plus-year-olds who were constipated all the time. And so they were buying it out of necessity, but then they were so embarrassed that they'd go like, put this one in the master bath where no one is going to see it because I don't want to talk to anyone about this, right? And so we go and we look at it and we're like, okay, how can we make this safe to talk about?
Yeah.
And so the strategy was we need to create a world where everything you see is beautiful. Or even tasty, right?
Right.
And so your eyes are seeing this world where everything is safe, everything is beautiful.
Yeah, little kids are just like,
And so while your ears are hearing this really tough, awkward message, your eyes are creating the safety because of what it's surrounded by.
That's awesome.
And so the strategy was that if we can make it safe for you and I to talk about it, then people won't have to hide it. Right? And so the campaign launched. A few months later, it's like the most popular white elephant gift at Christmas time.
Oh, I bet.
For several years at Halloween, like you'd see rainbow unicorns walking around.
Oh,
kids,
that's fantastic.
Kids carrying Squatty Potties as part of their costumes.
Okay, well, I
That's
have
awesome.
a question. So at Target and a lot of these stores, there's a unicorn in there that you like squeeze it or something and it goes to a mean face, but it looks like the same unicorn. Is that related?
So no. So Squatty Potty produced a plush toy, a little stuffed unicorn.
Yeah.
And they sold a lot of those, but they
The one I'm talking about is not related?
They didn't have any IP on that.
Okay.
Okay.
That look?
Well, I mean, the exact look, yes,
Yeah,
they
okay.
did, but it's pretty easy to take kind of this concept
just
of
change one or
a
two things, yeah.
unicorn with rainbow colors, change it up, and it like spawned a whole line of toys and memorabilia.
Oh, I'm sure there's a cult following
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
Man.
Go to
like
candy stores.
Yeah, like I
you'll
said,
find all
there's-
sorts of unicorn
there's
candy
one
now.
that like you squeeze it and it's all like happy, right? And then you squeeze it and it goes like teeth, like fangs, and the eyes go like that. And I don't know why it made me think, but it looks like the same.
Yeah, I mean, really, it created a cultural phenomenon, right? And that's transcended down from Halloween costumes to candy to toys.
So, Harmon Brothers, how did you guys get started? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, while we're on the subject of poop, we got started with the Poo-Pourri campaign.
the Poo-Pourri.
Poo-Pourri, that's
yeah,
right.
So
Got
that,
that
was,
Poo-Pourri?
that was a couple years before Squatty Potty.
What is Poo-Pourri? It's like a spray for the toilet, right?
Yeah, so it's
the poop particle smelliness can't penetrate.
Yep. So it's a before you go toilet spray that you spray on the surface of the water, traps everything down below. That was a similar situation. They had a bunch of customers that loved the product, but they would like hide it in their purses.
Yeah, how do you make it cool?
Hide it
How
in
do
the
you make it,
master
like-
bath.
yeah.
Like nobody wants to talk about
Yeah,
that, right?
Poo-Pourri.
You keep that hidden. And so they came and said, "Hey guys, we need a campaign that makes it safe for people to talk about this."
Yeah.
And so the strategy on that one was we just asked ourselves, who is the last person on earth who you would expect to tell potty humor? And so we ended up with an aristocratic British woman who you would expect to see at a tea party, right?
Very prim and proper.
Yep, super prim, super proper. And then we stick her on a toilet and have her tell all sorts of crass poop jokes to explain the product and to sell it. And so all of a sudden, now when you see that and you go, oh, if she can say it, then it's probably okay for me to say it.
Right.
And once again, it created this safety where now all of a sudden, like, people are talking about Poo-Pourri over the dinner table.
Oh.
Whereas before, you're like, oh, don't go there, right?
Totally. You guys have created this this crazy phenomenon. Everybody's just talking about it and sharing it, and it's funny, and it makes it likable and enjoyable to have some pretty crappy conversations.
I caught that.
You like that?
I caught it.
You like that? We were talking last night, and there's a lot of science, and I think that's where you come in. That's where your genius falls. What was your background before?
So I'm kind of the data nerd of the group. I started my career as a statistician, and then later I worked in the intelligence community in Washington, D.C., kind of a few of the different intel agencies there. And so when I joined the brothers, who were named Harmon, they had the creative chops, I had the data chops, and together we created this, it's essentially data-driven creativity, which sounds kind of counterintuitive, but if you look at our track record of campaign after campaign after campaign that is just success after success after success, people look at that and they're like, man, these guys just have the Midas touch. Like everything, everything just is gold.
No.
Did you catch that?
Yeah.
Yep.
But the reality is there's like a whole data-driven strategy going on behind the scenes. So when we work on a campaign, we don't just say, okay, let's take our best shot, produce an ad, and put it out there.
Right.
Instead, we test it the whole entire way. So we'll test titles for the campaign, thumbnail images for the campaign. We'll test versions of the script. We'll test intros.
Yeah.
We'll test calls to action.
We were talking about the intros last night, and you said you tested them on Facebook. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
To get an understanding of the audience, because the intro is super important.
Yeah. So, for example, when we're in the writing phase, we'll write 3, 4, maybe even 5 or 6 different intros. And then we'll film all of those intros, and we'll edit them, finish them, and then we'll put those intros out on Facebook as ads. But just, it's the first 5 seconds, maybe 15 seconds, just depending on how long the intro is. And then we'll compare each one and find out which intro has the best view-through rate. Because sometimes you can have one intro that is like 100% better than another intro, and that one thing alone, that can make or break your whole campaign.
Right.
It will. They were talking a lot about this today in video marketing world, about how the first 10, 15 seconds are crucial, right? So this right now, let's see if our audience is still engaged with us, but the first 15 seconds is so crucial to keep people engaged.
That's right.
Into your content.
That's right. So if you can capture 30% more
Right.
or 60% more, whatever that number is, then you just gave your campaign a 30 or 60% better chance of being successful, right? So it seems like a pretty small thing, but it takes a pretty big commitment to actually write all those intros, film them all, edit them all. It adds some cost to the project up front, but if it makes your campaign more successful in the long haul, it's totally worth it.
So from what I'm hearing, most of your market test and research is done through the social media platforms on Facebook with that test of those clips.
A lot of it, but we can even just do really simple non-scientific testing offline, right? So it can be as simple as write a script and go read it to 10 people and identify all the areas where your script is falling flat. That one step can save you so much money, and it can increase the chance of your campaign being successful. And that's a really cheap test, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we were talking a lot about this yesterday, that there's, at this conference, we're at Video Marketing World, there's a lot of stuff that they teach you on, if you're like an entrepreneur or a business owner, how to become successful, how to grow your business, grow your practice. And there's a lot of pieces to it, the click funnels and the video commercial and all the social media and all these different things. And so our conversation last night, your company will also help orchestrate all of that. So if someone has an idea, and it's a solid idea or a product or a service that they offer, you can kind of navigate them through all of that step by step, give them a roadmap.
Exactly.
Right? Talk to us about that process.
Yeah, so roadmap is exactly what we call it, right? So every company is at some point on this path of trying to go from obscure startup to becoming
massive,
a brand name that people know and trust and recognize and love, right? That's what we're all trying to do.
Yeah.
We're all on that path somewhere. And so the key is to identify where you're at on the path, and then identify what your goal state, your future state looks like, and then create a roadmap between the two. Because once you have that roadmap, then it allows you to say, okay, here are the pieces that need to fall into place along the way so that I can become that brand that I want to become.
Love it.
And that makes it so you don't get overwhelmed. You know, oftentimes people go to conferences and they get 24 great ideas, and they walk out and they're like, oh, where do I start?
Well, that's where we're at, right? Mark and I, we were talking about this the other day. We were like, what do we do first? Do we do ClickFunnels? Do we do a class? Where do we start?
They get analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis. Well, this is a big, like, in our business, in our line of work, we also do financial services. We do retirement planning and things like that for our clients, right? It's the same thing. So I could show a client, okay, to retire you need, $2 million. Okay, that's the end goal.
Yep.
But what are all the little steps along the way that's gonna take for me to get there? And so we really help our clients do the same thing. But I love that because we're kind of stuck. We're at a position where we're like, you know what? What's the next step for the Who You Know show? Where do we go from here? How do we get more exposure, and how do we take this thing to the next level? And that's why we came here, and to learn. And so I'm really glad we got to meet you and kind of pick your brain.
Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to help.
Yeah, this is awesome. Oh, Purple Mattress. I want to talk a little bit about that too. So if you have caught that commercial, is that the one that has the most views right now? Which one's what's your premiere piece?
So we made a Goldilocks commercial for Purple Mattresses where we take this sheet of glass, glue eggs to the bottom of it, and we drop it on the mattress. So it highlights this technology that shows, look, it can cradle pressure points, the eggs, while still supporting the weight of your body, the glass. And so it became this really cool visual to illustrate the technology that is in a Purple mattress. And that ad has been viewed, I think, over 500 million times.
Wow.
It's
500 million times, and primarily where has that been viewed? YouTube or where?
So when I say 500 million times, I'm talking about all versions of that Goldilocks ad. So it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube, it's on television.
Right.
It's all over the place, right?
Now, does that also include the ad that also has the guy with the egg strapped to his back that they drop? That's just the Goldilocks version.
That's just the Goldilocks campaign.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I love your creativity. I love how you take sales and you make it fun. Right?
Yeah, so traditionally in the world of advertising, people used to think of it as like, okay, you've got infomercials over here and you've got traditional branding over here. So infomercials is for like, that's nasty. That's the nasty place, right? Where like, go
as seen on TV.
Yeah, go do as seen on TV, high pressure sales, like blah, 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 all that stuff. And then traditional branding is over here like, all like high and mighty, like, ooh, we work with Apple and Nike and Coca-Cola.
Right.
And the two worlds kind of hate each other. So the infomercial world is looking at traditional branding and they're like, oh, it's all fluff. You can't track that stuff. You don't see an ROI for like a year. Yeah. And then on the other side, the traditional branders are looking back at infomercials and being like, oh, gross. You guys are disgusting. Why would you do that to your brand? And we came along and said, no, like both of those camps have really good stuff to offer. You can drive a sale, like in the infomercial world, get an ROI, keep cash coming in the door to pay the bills, keep the lights on, and at the same time, you can build a brand that people remember, they know, they love, they trust.
Love that.
It doesn't have to be either or, and that's been our strategy.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. So let me tell you a little bit about what we do, right? We have our Who You Know job networking show.
Okay.
We help job seekers who are in a transition go from one job to the next. We teach them networking strategies. We teach them video strategies, right?
How to leverage video to get themselves out of the black hole.
Yep.
And we have our radio podcast that we stream and bring on different recruiters and hiring managers and do interviews, right? What would be something funny, clever, if we were to create a commercial to keep people engaged, what would be a clever idea?
Man, you're asking the wrong guy for that. So I am, in the Harmon Brothers organization, I am the least funny person there. So like I said, I'm the data geek.
You're the data
yep,
guy.
Yep.
That's the Mark. Mark's the data guy. This is our numbers guy right here.
Yep.
He crunches all the numbers.
Yep, Mark and I can relate.
Yep.
So every one of our projects, we actually bring in a team of writers that includes stand-up comedians. And so when we're tackling this stuff, we're getting ideas from everywhere, and we're asking these stand-up comedians, like, bring your wildest ideas. Like, you got something off the wall, bring it. And so some of the rough draft scripts, like, like.
Oh,
I bet they're
I
bad.
can only imagine.
Yeah,
I
I
bet
mean,
they're bad.
some of that stuff we can't even talk about publicly, right?
Well, I love that you're a disruptor, okay, to the industry of marketing. You're a disruptor. You're like the Netflix to the Blockbuster, right? What you're doing has not been really done before that I'm aware of.
Yeah, it's definitely shaking up. The world of infomercials
Both sides
is catching on quicker than the traditional branding world. It's interesting because we can go to a conference that's targeted towards the direct marketing world, the infomercial world, and everybody knows who we are, and everyone's trying to do what we do because that world is seeing like, oh man, the power of a brand, we need it. But the traditional branders are still a little bit high and mighty, and they're still not quite seeing the writing on the wall of needing to adjust. And it's going to be interesting to watch over the next few years because where those ads used to live was on commercial breaks, right?
Right.
But now Netflix and Amazon, there's no commercial breaks anymore.
Yeah.
So all of these traditional branders, the world where they used to live is changing, and they're going to be left going, what's next? What do we do now? And so it's only a matter of time before they finally come to grips with a new reality that we've got to do things differently.
Well, I have a question about that, right? So we're talking about advertising on TV and stuff like that. People are on Netflix. People are on social media. They're on their cell phones and things like that. Because your commercials, the length, do you find that people still, like, even if they're on their phone, they're scrolling, they see it on Facebook, the watch rate is still all the way through? Or do you feel like, has your analytics shown that they still fall off after a minute or 30 seconds? Or
So it's interesting because you look at advertising in kind of different ways. So you have what's referred to as prospecting, and that's where you're going out and you're making first contact with somebody. That they call that top of funnel advertising, right? And then bottom of funnel advertising is more like, okay, we have your attention, now we're going to convert you. And when it comes to conversion, there's nothing more effective than the long format sales video. But it's also nice to layer on shorter content at other levels of the funnel. And so we can oftentimes take our long format videos and we'll be able to cut a whole bunch of 15-second, 30-second, sometimes even 5-second. We can pull all of these bits and pieces out of the longer format video, cut it down for the smaller formats. Then you can run it on TV, you can run it on Instagram, you can run it all over the place.
So you chop it up, redistribute it, probably work with something like ClickFunnels so that the consumer
is led.
We're scrolling, and then we see something eye-catchy.
You click on it.
You click on it.
Yep, and then you land in a sales funnel. Yep.
I laugh out loud, LOL, right? And then I'm like, dang, and I click this thing, and it takes me to the next thing. Next thing you know, I'm buying a Squatty Potty.
Exactly.
That's awesome. And sold, how many of those things have been sold?
No, I have no idea.
Millions on millions?
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think within 6 months of that campaign or something, they jumped from $4 million a year up to like $20 million per year, something like that. It was a pretty big jump.
5X.
Who you know, Nation, I can tell you, I have a Squatty Potty, and the thing works.
Well, I
product.
think
Works good.
I think
like
here's a key takeaway, right, for the audience and also the people here at VMW, the conference, is that what you had said is your format for your production includes specifically the idea that we are going to break this up, right? And they talked about that where, long format, you've got long format video, but then you also need short format video. You need to have that, kind of interspaced in your posts and in your interaction with, your online audience. So I think that that's super important and
totally
very interesting to
Totally
hear.
depends on what stage you're at. Like, If you're right at the very beginning where you just need to bring some sales in the door, like just go with the long format sales pitch and just go aim it towards your most targeted, your lowest hanging fruit. That's a great way to start. That gets the money coming in the door, and then you can say,
Right.
okay, now let's go a little more broad. Let's cut it down.
Yeah.
You can get a little more advanced in your strategies. But if you're just looking to start simple.
That's awesome.
Keep it simple. The old
And
KISS principle.
It is awesome to meet you. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us a little bit. We really appreciate you and love your work. And I'm interested to talk to you guys too, to see maybe collaboration on, that roadmap you were talking about.
Cool,
right?
cool. Let's
I
explore
need a
it.
roadmap.
Okay. Pleasure to be here, guys. It's been fun.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks again. Bye.